It is Saturday morning, and it is a damn excellent time to be making music or art and just be taking mayhem and converting it into something positive. This is Art of Rock. We're doing this every Saturday right here. Like Angelspit's Twitch, because that's where we're doing it. Also on YouTube, but whatever. This is made possible with help from Angelspit's Patreon. Many of these people are here. You fuckers keep me going, and I fucking love you so much. I'm just gonna cut to the chase. Raz, tell me about this question, and let's jump straight into this. Bam. Vince, thank you, man. Vince, go.
I've only been able to find an answer to on the DistroKid forums on their website, and that's that you have to use the actual iTunes app, not the Apple Music app, in order to get the pre-sale link to go through. It goes through on iTunes specifically, not on Apple Music, because Apple Music for some reason has a different requirement, or that's not where it goes from DistroKid specifically. It only goes to the iTunes pre-sale store. So if you use the old iTunes app, that'll take you where you need to go rather than the current app. I don't know about Amazon. I think Amazon, because iTunes says that you can't make more than 50% of your release available immediately at time of pre-sale, because they have early access with their pre-sale. But I think that just means you can buy it and it won't show up in your library until it's actually released. Your pre-sale should still work. You just can't do the instant gratification if you don't have half of it to hold for later.
I'm really interested in that specifically. Do you have a link maybe to the discussion where people were talking about the solutions, the difference between iTunes and Apple Music, and truly making stuff available for pre-sale on Apple? Or is it private behind login?
I don't know how, like, it's not real detailed what I did find, because it was just I don't know, it was kind of detailed. It was enough for me to get it, but I don't know how much other people, I mean, you'll probably get it. Like, you do this
I'll do the
stuff,
search.
so, like, I'm saying people outside of people that distribute music for themselves or others are probably, it would be a little confusing maybe.
Inside baseball.
Yeah, exactly.
Got it.
Except, yeah, because I don't get baseball, so I get that.
Awesome.
So you do have a Spotify, an Amazon, and an Apple effort, at least, with varying results.
Yes, I have an Apple link that works, but only through the iTunes app. I actually had to tell my brother to do that.
Right,
He kept sending me the error message, and I kept clicking on it, and I was like, "No, it's going to this page." And I'd send him a screenshot of the page because it goes to it on my phone, but I don't have the Apple Music app, so it just does it through the browser. So it goes to it through the browser, but if it opens it in the app, it has to be the iTunes app. And I think he got it to work. I haven't heard from him since then, so I don't know. I should probably ask.
May I jump in? So this is a really, I'm lucky that I use AWOL, and AWOL does it all automatically. And although there's a lot of things that DistroKid does, which is really good, like generating the pre-sale links and all that stuff, it's really good. AWOL, you have to submit it a month out. and it will automatically send it to the DJs and the play curators. I don't think that there is an option for AWOL to submit it within 48 hours. You know, that's something that DistroKid can do, is it can just go straight in there and slam, but AWOL won't. I've recently claimed YouTube, Apple Music, and Amazon. I have no, and I'm pretty sure they have the curation service as well. Probably not as good as Spotify. Like, Spotify's curation service is fucking phenomenal. They'll push it to, you know, people who listen to you or might listen to you. All that shit's free. It's really good. So my thoughts is, what was the question? I'm so sorry. Vince, what? Step one is make sure that you are a registered artist with, you know, YouTube and all that stuff. And then when you get the curation, in they come. One really good thing I'm noticing at the moment, I think I'm getting like weekly alerts from Apple who are saying, this is what's going on with your music. And it's very curious to see what people are listening to on Apple as compared to what people are listening to on Spotify. You know, it's a very different thing. And the Spotify, for me anyway, is way bigger, is so much bigger than anything else. That's all I got. Alex, what do you got?
Just for information, I clicked Vince's link, and on macOS it just works and brings me to the page, and I could pre-save it. No problem.
Bam.
It's their integrated app into the operating system. Just
Wait, which link?
The one
The
before
newest
the
one I
last
just
you...
posted in the Discord?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a pre-saved Spotify link. That's not the pre-sale that we were talking about for iTunes. That's a different.
No, it's the one. It's the one where you said pre-sale iTunes, and it just brings me to the music app, and I could pre-save it on the Apple Music.
Okay.
It just worked. I don't know. It didn't even directly bring me to the iTunes.
Maybe
but
it just wasn't to the Apple Music part of the server yet. Maybe that's a thing that happens. I don't know.
Learning. Thank you. Raz, what do you got?
I was going to ask which link that was and if it was a public thing and if we could share it in the chat just to see it work, if that's okay to do.
Are you okay with that, Vince?
Yeah, whatever.
If it's a...
All right.
As long as it's not the private SoundCloud link.
Okay. All right. So I've got the Apple Music one.
Same.
Can I use this Apple Music one you've got here?
That worked beautifully this
All right.
time. The error that I was seeing
I'm
no
gonna
longer
post
happens.
this to the chats and everything. Oh, you beat me to it. Thanks, Alex. Hold on, I'm gonna do it here as well, just so I can get it on YouTube.
That in the Twitch.
That's on Twitch now. It's on
Put
YouTube.
it everywhere.
Bloody awesome. Okay, Grim, what you got? Oh, sorry. I'm sorry,
No,
Razzie. I cut you off, man. I'm sorry about that.
And in doing so, I think it also jostled whatever I was going to ask out of my head. So let's take... Grim can take it.
I was going to say, yeah, in tandem with this, so that begs the question. So if you got a big release, or if you got, you know, something you're really stoked on and you want to get it out there, or pre-sale, or the question would be, should you be firing said link out, or do you think it's better to pull everybody back to one source? So like, instead of me posting a link to say, hey, my new thing's on SoundCloud, my new Grimtacular's on SoundCloud, I'm thinking it might beg the question, do I want to pull everybody to grimreaperforhire.com? Because everything ever is right on Main Street. You know what I mean? Not everybody has that. Not everybody has a domain. But I guess my question is, should you be posting that link that's to that new piping hot apple pie debut that you got? Or should you be corralling everybody toward your mainstay or your main page? You know?
I'd like to comment on that. Resi, I see your hand. I'll have a word about that once we're done. Once you're done.
Yeah, I think there's the three things that I like to consider on this one, and it's your fans' tolerance, your artistic intentions, and well, maybe those two mainly. That the third one being like what you're trying to achieve. Like putting out those pre-saves may have influence over Spotify editorial playlist adders and editors. They may see the pre-save stuff on Spotify, they may not. I think that might be debatable. Maybe somebody can weigh in with fresher information. And from the fans' perspective, man, it might be just annoying to see a lot of mentions of a thing beforehand and begging or calling to action multiple times rather than having a thing for them to actually get and have the whole thing. Maybe they have a high tolerance for it. Maybe they're really engaged. I think that's a thing to test and weigh in with your own attitude about do you have a lot to say every time you post about this? Is there something new you can bring to the post and not just put the same link up every time? New art, new piece of the song, new information. Is it conversational?
Oh boy. Vince, I'll go in after you. There's a lot going on here.
Okay.
When you say okay like that, it's like Vince has got something to say. And I'm always loving to hear it. I'm always looking forward to hear it. So hit me with.
Here's the thing, you've got your one link, you've got your website, and that's great. But if you drive all your traffic there, that may not necessarily get traffic to the most recent thing you're trying to draw attention to right now. So at least for a minute, you kind of want to do both. You want to drive them to that specific thing and to the website and feature that thing on the website where it's easy to find. Do both of those things so you cover all the bases. And as far as your fans' tolerance goes, like, just vary the type of content you use or what specific content you use, even if you're gonna push it a lot. Because a lot of us, like myself, don't have money to pay for advertising, so the only way to get something out there like that is to post about it a lot yourself to try to get it to gain traction. So if you're going to do that, just don't use the same picture over and over again for Instagram. Don't use the same text over and over again especially for the same picture, because Instagram won't let you do that anyway, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, vary your content a little bit so that it hits and also vary the times that you're posting so that it hits more than one audience in various places, because your whole audience may not be in the same part of the world, and that's how the internet works. That's how you get everybody. You got to hit them at the right time when they're looking at the internet.
Thank you. If I may, there's a lot of so if I was doing something like this, I would, and there's a whole bunch of links coming in. So you're going to have the Spotify link, you've got a SoundCloud link, you've got although I'm not going to post SoundCloud because I have no faith in SoundCloud, hashtag Carl's Nasty, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, no, Bandcamp. So you've got 3 links, and I would be hitting each of those 3 links. I would be making a post on the main website that says it's out, here we go, boom, you can download it from iTunes, here. It's a really, in fact, I would also be doing one on the Patreon, on the Patreon page, viewable to the public, saying, hey, remember to check it out, throw your patrons a free copy. But that's a private post, so that when you make something public, not only are you saying go listen to it for free or buy it, but also support my Patreon. And I will very briefly touch on something, Razzie, you mentioned about how my problem, and I think everybody's problem, is that you make a post and 1% of your audience is going to see it. So therefore, mathematically speaking, if you want half your audience to see it, do you have to post it 50 times? No, you have to buy advertising. Fuck that. So, my thoughts are, pimp the shit out of that shit. Here's a picture of my cat. Go buy my album. And it really sucks that dark, grinding industrial music has come into the place of, here's my cat. Go buy my music. But, you know, fuck, that shit works. As you can see, I'm really enthused about that. Is there anything else that we want to talk about regarding this? Because, you know, this is a deep dive. Alex, okay, I'm going to throw it to Alex if that's okay, then I'll throw it to you, Rezi.
I have a slightly different topic, so maybe if Rez
okay.
has...
Rez, you and I see Grim's hand. So, Rez, you go first, then Grim.
I think one of the, if I could put a positive spin on it, I've seen a few of our mostly darker aesthetic musicians also going straight across genres with just some upbeat but legit dance backing tracks for their TikToks and stuff. And it's a little weird, but we're in a much more, as an elderly person, a much more post-genre, unironic sampling across the different types of music world, where maybe it's a thing to embrace, maybe it's a thing to just accept or understand, maybe it's a thing to truly rail against. But on the topic of putting your happy kitty along with your 666 Satan, I hate society stuff, that used to seem like a juxtaposition, and more it's just seeming like the kind of, you know, mixing of messages that works and seems relatively current, de rigueur, modern.
Thanks. Can I just really quickly, if anybody has a glass on them, I'd just like to propose a toast. I'd like to propose a toast to our Dark Lord Satan, who, in this time of stupid, effluent bullshit, the only constant thing is Satan. And the only constant thing is, wow, this stuff is really fucking stupid. Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
Hail fucking Satan. Hail Satan indeed. I would also like to at some point today talk about the sentient algorithm and what the real threat behind that is. But not now. Grim, I'm going to throw it to you, and then Alex had a new question. Grim, hit me with your rhythm stick.
First, I'd like to propose a topic, and we could just put it on the wheel and just spin it for later. But
of
it
course.
would be something to the effect of inspiration and a playbook. So that's just, you know, for whatever. So we don't have future tumbleweeds. But no, I would echo what Rezi said, and I think more and more it's like, if you just want to throw out something like quick and dirty, or you're just fucking around, like TikTok is a good way to do that. But oftentimes you find yourself scrolling through endless heaps of shit, like what sound fits my thing, you know? But I also know that, like, if you use your own, you know, backing tracks or instrumentals, like we might have previously discussed, that might be a way to gain a little more traction too, where you clip snippets of your instrumental to put it behind you while you are doing set update, you know, to where you could garner some interest, and, you know, who knows, maybe people like it enough to where they want to duet shit and stitch and blah, 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 blah. But the point is, I think I'm guilty of it, just throwing out something quick with somebody else's instrumental. But more and more, I think you should just be like driving your own stuff, you know, to where it's not repetitive and you get those little snapshots of a song, and it can kind of help embolden it.
Thank you very much. I love that idea for a conversation. Let's definitely talk about that. But first, here's Alex. Should I do this more like a kid's show? Hello, boys and girls. Thank you very much, Mr. Grimm. That was very fun. But first, let's talk to Mr. Alex.
And now the weather.
Was that Perth or Adelaide? What just happened there?
Anyway, my problem is that I have much music gear, or a sizable amount in volume, but I feel like I really suck at organizing it. So I have like microphones and cables all over the place, and I have this cable hanger, but it's way too full, so most of my cables are in another place. And I thought about maybe buying some boxes, but I wonder if you have any ideas how to organize stuff so that you can quickly pull it out. And maybe tell me about your system because I'm curious.
That's fantastic. Let's talk about gear. Here's Razzie with the weather.
Cables on pegs on the wall for ease of access, and then every few months the ones that have made it to the back of the peg are the ones that get put in some plastic closing totes that go on a shelf in the closet, and they're still easy enough to dig out. Like 50-foot XLR cables in this place generally migrate to the tote in the closet, so they're out of the way. And I know it's probably darker in here than you can see what I'm doing, but I do have some of those looms for small patches, and then some coat hanger style pegs for the longer ones, and then I don't have to wrap the cables. I can just drape them. I have it up high enough so that a 3-meter cable doesn't hit the floor, so 1/4 inch and inserts and some of those IEC AC plugs and digital cables for monitors and stuff, they all just floop, hang over the thing, no wrapping up. And reminding every time the idea strikes to actually go through and pull off the ones that just don't get used and throwing them in the closet for cold storage.
Great, thank you. Grim, I'm going to go in after you, but first, here's Grim.
Also, on that note, I would get something that you traditionally don't think of as like gear storage, and you could use it to fit your needs. So, like, you can get hanging bin organizers, you know, with individual shelves, or just something that hangs from a closet shelf space. And once it was used for 80 pair of shoes, but fuck it, why can't you put cables and controllers and adapters and all that jazz, and it's open to where you can get at everything you need.
That's really good advice, and I would like to say that every time I talk to you, I do get terrified, and I do realize that hell is going to be a place full of red tape and very, very organized, and your shit is not going to get past anything at all, because hell's horrifyingly organized. Hail Satan. The way I do this is I have a very high-tech cardboard box, and I have cables wrapped together because I have a lot of patch cables for the modular, and I have like 3 or 4 bundles going, and each bundle, it's not like all the short ones are in this one, the medium ones, it's not like that. It's a bundle is roughly that thick, and it's got short, medium, long, and super long in it, and I'll grab a bundle and I'll use that bundle until I've used all the leads. Then I you know the little Velcro cables that hold cables together, throw it back in the box, grab the next one. Yeah, but they're not that high tech. No, yes, they are that. No, they're not that high tech though. But nevertheless, thank you, Rezi. I also have, and they're all 1/8 inch to 1/8 inch. Then I have another bundle which is 1/4 inch to 1/8 inch, and now I've got no, not cable ties like that. They're the Velcro ones, because you got to rip them open. Oh, they are the Velcro ones. They're the Velcro ones. I think we should just start doing this with hand puppets. They're the Velcro ones. Everybody just went, yes, hand puppets. Yes, Hail Satan. Yes, hand puppets. Is that the condom for the invisible man? What the hell is that? It's everybody show me your Velcro. It's Castle Grayskull. Thank you. It's Satan. Anyway, so so that's what I do. I also have another. I've got another box, and the box has got to be up high now because Mordecai is pissed off at me at the moment. So she's peeing in the box, or trying to pee in the box. And she'll kind of sneak in. Wow, that's a TikTok video right there. She'll sneak in, she'll skulk in, and go, I'm going to pee in the box. And it's funny that she'll announce herself at the door, and she's got long little claws, so she goes tap, tap, tap. And I've got to go very gently, give her a hug, and say, put the box up. You're not peeing in my box, Mordecai. And something else really funny. This isn't funny at all. It's actually so. Wife calls me out last night to look at the balcony on the lower garden, and there are. Do anyone want to guess what incredibly beautiful animal? I'm going to get back to cables in a second. This has got a point. Guess what incredibly beautiful animal was outside? Does anybody want to guess? Southern California? Skunks. There was the papa skunk. Big motherfucker. Big, beautiful, with his huge fucking tail. And baby skunk. And the thing I've said before about skunks is skunks don't give a fuck. They have no natural predators. They don't fucking care. And we often leave the front door kind of open. And I just thought, if you get a bird in the house or a wombat, you can deal with it. But if you get a skunk in your house, it's like, you got to get another house. And I just had a moment that, what if the skunk squirted on my modular and on my cables? And my friends overseas, do you guys have skunks in Germany? Skunks are a remarkable creature. They don't care. And you can't get that shit out. Anyway, so that's what I do with my cables. And I have another box as well with eighth inch to stereo other ones, or XLR to XLR, and blah 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 blah. They're all in the other box behind the curtain of shame. And that's the thing about life, is when it's bad, just green screen that shit out and house Satan. Alex, I see your hand up, and you asked me about cables and I talked about skunks.
And how do you organize your floppy disks and pedals and so on? Is it boxes or?
The pedals are all out and the pedals are all patched, so that any point I can jump on those guys. The floppy disks are in boxes, and those really cool old school floppy disk boxes. And currently a whole bunch of them are just sitting on top of the Emacs, because there's a photo of Skinny Puppy with floppy disks all over their Emacs, and I want to be that guy. And same with the zip disks. But the thing about zip disks and floppy disk is, if you drop a zip disk, it's fucked. It's corrupted. It's done. And it could be the same with floppies, although floppies seem to be a lot more durable. I would be recommending dust-proof, waterproof boxes, and I've got a bunch of them up there. And it's funny, even though 2 of the Emaxes are now USB drive, there's, I don't know, is that 8,000 floppy drives right there? I still love fucking floppy drives, man. I love them. One of the Emaxes is still floppy drives, and it's I love them. So keep them in boxes. And I also with the DVDs as well. And then on the floppy drives and the zip drives, I will actually write what's on them, so I can be finding out what's in there. But I have I have a notepad for the Emulator 4, which I haven't used in a fucking hot minute, of all the sounds on the Emulator 4, like banks and 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 banks of shit. And it's funny, I just think it's easier to sample shit than it is to, I'll go through sounds and it's oh, I fucking hate this. I hate going through sounds. I hate it so much. Fucking hate it. I just want to make sounds. I'll shut up now. Alex. And also, if anybody else wants to answer that question, but I'm going to throw it to you first, Alex.
I forgot to put my hand down, so.
That's okay. Ivan, I expect something humorous and dark from you, and twisted.
Dark and twisted. I have a very dark and twisted plastic bin that I use for my Eurorack cables. And yeah, bundling them up is a great idea and move. I try to keep up with it. Everything is chaos these days, so hail Satan on that one. As far as specialty storage goes, the more you get into music, the more you get into woodworking. Particularly if you're into Eurorack. Because, next thing you know, you need a new case.
Yeah, and bread. You make bread as well.
Oh, dude, they've been doing that for years.
Why? Why do people like, I do Eurorack and I make bread? Why? Why? And it's also like, I know it's a thing to say, yes, I'm into carpentry and I have a drill and I drill aluminium and steel. Do these things because I do Eurorack bleepy bleep noises. And that requires, but why bread?
Because homemade bread is delicious.
Yeah,
and
but why? I think me and the wife need to make bread. Why? I'm asking why. You're not giving me a reason.
Oh, because I could not get sufficiently good enough black bread.
No, you're not listening to my question. Why is it now, and Resi really doesn't give a fuck right now, why, Mark doesn't give a fuck, no one gives a fuck, why does Eurorack go bread, and then sourdough bread? Why? What is it about the brain of somebody who is into synthesizers, and specifically Eurorack go, I must make bread now? Why?
It's the same fundamentally.
Because the bread.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead, Resi.
We're going to say the same thing. Please go ahead, Vince.
Oh no. My brain's a bag of fucking cats. I was
Yes, his brain is made of fucking
grim.
cats.
I was thinking that the bread acts as a sound buffer, like sound soak noise, like sound soakers to suck in the noise, and the bread is the only thing that like makes shit neutral.
Maybe we should be toasting to bread.
That goes straight into the bread.
Bread. Satanic bread. Resi, did you want to throw in anything equally ridiculous?
Yeah, in that it's floppy disks and putting your sample data on them is a little bit ridiculous. But
fuck
cool.
You!
I mean, we have to do a little bit of like.
Oh, the 80s are so cool. Oh, the 80s. Oh, everybody, 80s. Oh, but not floppy disks. That's where I draw the line.
Carl's gonna show up at Resi's house like Gambit from the X-Men and start fucking whipping floppy disks out of him.
I'm gonna go Castle Grayskull on your ass right now.
Allow me to set the stage for where I'm coming from. Floppy drives, as you said, and my SideQuest cartridges. I don't have any zip disks, you modern weirdos. They're fragile. They will wear out. You can't read and write to them forever, especially 40-year-old floppies that came with your S900.
I actually have 40-year-old floppies that came with my Emacs. And they still work!
Let me just rephrase that.
Keep going.
You may eventually find data corruption or some dropouts or problems. Like, they are fragile. So I had the habit of bumping all the floppies up to disk images and stuff and moving that to SideQuest cartridges when they'd hold a good number. And those SideQuest cartridges would get imaged and stored on hard drives. And then every hard drive just gets, copied to the next order of magnitude larger hard drive as it goes. So there's always multiple copies in the chain. And the hard drives happen to get backed up to, services remotely anyway. So I got everything totally safe, totally secure. And I started using MIDI SDS to do all of the transfers of sample data. So I could, with a librarian on the desktop, send the sampled programs over.
What sampler are you using?
This was for the Yamaha TX16W running the Typhoon software.
Well, look at the smile on your face right now.
Because Magnus Lindstrom, who wrote that, is the one that wrote the Maelstrom synth and the Microtonic and stuff. He's like, the first thing we could talk about him in another topic. But so I had a workstation that did SDS. There was non-SDS, but librarian accessible for the S950 and S1000, the Akai samplers, and then for the TX16W was the main one that I was doing that with. And so with a single loading program, bloop, bloop, you send them all out, you get your MIDI patch bay to do the direct and bidirectional connection. They'll handshake, they'll send it, and you're at least preserving your floppy stash. I don't know, maybe it's not as fun, but that was the way that I went. So respect for the floppies, not derision.
Thank you. Ivan, you still got your hand up and you still got that Hunter S. Thompson look on your face.
I spent the 90s doing floppy based installs of Linux, which was like 80 floppies, and I was working at ISP, so I did lots of them. I was so happy when I got away from floppies. I never looked back. Still love my Jazz drive though. That's the 1 was it 1 gig? Yeah.
Yeah, 1 gig.
The 1 gig.
It was funny. Somebody actually messaged me on Facebook the other day and said, I'm on a garage sales and they have a whole bunch of zip discs. And it's funny that they're rummaging through a whole bunch of dumb old crap. And the first thing they go is, text Carl.
You feel that.
I know. And I politely said, look, man, I got 1 million of them. And I was going to say, but if they have a SCSI zip, let me know. But I went, no. I've got like 2 backup right now.
I have a rack mount SCSI SideQuest, so that's my...
I'm about to order a Emacs off Reverb, and the first thing I'm doing is putting in the USB.
Do it. And update the screen as well. Good job. Is it an Emacs 1 or Emacs 2?
Oh, it's the... I gotta go look now.
Is it the darker one or the lighter grey one?
It's the rack mount.
Is it a darker rack mount or a lighter rack mount?
I'll have the... get over to my cart. It is the ESI 32, the dark one.
Oh, ESI 32. Yeah, that's not an Emacs. That's kind of roughly, technically an emulator 3, roughly XP, and that's a really fucking good sampler, and it is so fucking underrated. You're gonna get so much use out of that thing.
Yeah, well, apparently people really like the filters on it. So
yeah, they're all the Zed playing morphing stuff. They're brilliant. I'm gonna shut up now, and congrats on that. That is a wise decision. I'm just gonna throw this to Alex because he's waiting patiently.
Yeah, another question to floppy disks. Where would the best places be to get new ones? Because I thought I was smart and use old ones on my synth, but apparently they have to be formatted in a certain way, and they don't like if they have been formatted to DOS previously.
What synth are you using?
The Korg 01W.
Oh, great synth. Okay, so that's a really interesting question, and if my memory serves me correction, the 01W FD, Butte fucking sound, has got, it's a 1.4 meg disc. You'll have to, like, research, because most discs these days are MS-DOS formatted. I don't know, and if you search around you're going to find them, but that's the other thing is floppies are big, that's why you don't get an emulator 2, because getting a fucking 5 1/4 like the big fucking, it's impossible getting those discs, and or if you do, they're stupid expensive. Floppies, yeah, I don't know, man. You'll have to check, you'll have to ask around.
Okay, so they know, like, because on eBay they feel quite expensive for what they are.
Yeah.
But maybe I have to bite the bullet. You also have to buy like 100 of them, and you can't buy a 10-pack. At least I haven't seen once.
Another option is that you might be able to do, although I don't think you can do a dump via, a save via.
You can. I just I would prefer to have a floppy disk because it's faster, because I don't need to set it up on my PC. I have done it already, but it takes like
time.
It takes a bit more time than just saying save and then it's done in a minute. 10 minutes done.
My advice would be shop around. It doesn't have SCSI, does it? All right, yeah, just get a floppy and shop around. And if you're absolutely in love with that synth, look into updating it to USB, because I'm absolutely positive you can get a GoTech or whatever the fucking brands are. There's a bunch of brands that are doing
this.
Yes,
it's a standard drive.
Yeah, you could most likely get a USB emulator. In fact, you could definitely do it, and I would advise for it. And the crazy thing about USB emulators is that the USB key itself, said Carl, holding up another USB key, Emaxes, I'm pretty sure it's the same with the ESI 32. They don't read MS-DOS. And an Emacs will not read Emacs 2, which will not read emulator or emulator 2, or an emulator 2 doesn't read emulator 3. Emulator 3 does read emulator 4. You have to go through all of this fucking around. But the great thing about these guys is that when they create the file itself for the Emacs, There is a conversion built into it that speaks to the Gotek drive, that speaks to the Emacs. So as far as the Emacs is concerned, it's reading an Emacs formatted disk. But as far as your computer is concerned, it's reading a PC disk. So I can grab those disks, drop them straight onto the PC, if that makes sense. Because talking to the fucking 80s is very fucking hard. And congrats on the 01W. It's a fucking great synth, mate.
Yeah, thanks to
big
people who
sounds.
put out their editors for free after 30 years, because I don't think I would enjoy editing that thing just on itself.
No, and plus it is a pain in the cock to edit. I had a friend in university, and he was the bee's knees because it was such a beautiful machine, beautiful synth. We need You're Not Weighing in My Box. Yeah, you do. Thank you, Vince. We do. Okay. Electra, welcome. Megamorph, welcome. Does anybody else want to talk about like organizing your fucking studio? And one other thing I'll do as well is with my pedals, I've got like you know how you've got rack shelves? I just get them and I turn them around the other way, so instead of pointing back into the rack, they come out. And the regular ones will fit about 5 distortion pedals on them if I line them up. And the trick is you get a shorter one and then you get a longer one. So you've kind of got this tiered thing with your fucking distortion pedals. And my distortion pedals are a mess right now. My whole life is a mess right now. So does anybody else have anything else they want to talk about regarding this thing? Or do we want to talk about something that Grim brought up before?
And building new studio up on the 3rd floor, along with that, like I'm purpose building all the furniture for 3rd floor because, like I said earlier, being into Eurorack gets you into woodworking. Being into woodworking eventually results in being able to make furniture. So, like, new studio desk, in-wall built-in, like, synth storage, and it's going to be crazy. You guys are going to love it. Wait till, like, October, November-ish.
Awesome. If I was to go out and to say my 2 cents worth on this, because of size restrictions, I just get server racks, like 7-foot server racks, and I build it up.
Yeah, and those always go up. It doesn't even matter because, like, you know, they can be closer to you.
Well, yeah, when I was in Chicago, I had, like, it would have been 9 or 12 racks, and they were, like, heaps of them because, you know, when you start putting shit out there, even your distortion pedals and everything else, because the trick is if you can't see it, you're not going to use it. This thing was so fucking long, and now I've got 2 fucking 7-foot racks, and they're great. Because, like, you know, now I have the luxury of being able to build patch bays and, you know, stuff into it. Because you got room because you're going up. That's just my 2 cents worth. I mean, some people are really lucky to have room, but increasingly, we don't have room. Christ. Okay, Rez, what do you got?
If you're talking about those open frame telco racks, like single pole up the middle.
Yeah.
Did you bolt yours to the floor? Because when I had them, they weren't stable. Like,
really?
The feet were, because they're meant for raised flooring and like for old 50s style server rooms.
Those are meant to be bolted down.
Yeah, but you're just balancing it, so that's, I mean, hey.
And I live in LA, full of earthquakes. So.
Okay.
But I'm really lucky that there's a piece of the ceiling here that they're bolted together, and there's a piece of the ceiling that is 7¼ inches tall. So this is going to go under it, but they won't tumble. And I don't want to put bolts in my floor. Plus, if you rent, you're not putting bolts in the floor. Right, although, butter.
There's an advantage to the, like real server rack instead of equipment rack, like four-poster wheelie racks.
Yeah. I actually wanted to build. I had this dream that I was going to get plywood, cut it in the shape of an 80s Space Invader machine, an arcade machine, and deck the whole inside out with racks. And I had like 2 or 3 of these things lined up, and they were just like plywood. And I wanted to set my mixing desk into something that looked like a tabletop thing. And I was going to stencil the side of them and everything, but that's a really cool, fun, great idea. And put like Tron and Space Invaders across the top of it. But the problem I've got is space. Ironically, Space Invaders, space. Technically, that's irony. Technically, that's why I make bread, because it's ironic. Thank you.
I live in Milwaukee, where space is never a problem. New studio space upstairs is like 1041 square feet.
Wow.
Because
Lucky
I was
you.
in a very, very cheap neighborhood.
Wow. I live in Los Angeles, and a very cheap neighborhood is... I won't even talk about that now. Alex, no, Grim, who had the question? Somebody had a question about something, and I want to throw to that now.
Grim, I think.
Grimace, what's the question, baby?
Hey, so proposing an idea. We might have dabbled at this before, but I think by extension, I don't know. The best way I could explain it is, I think people, if you haven't already visited the idea of having a playbook, like I think that's a good thing to have, and more importantly, when everybody's so wrapped around the axle about putting content out there, I think it's good to keep that as an anchoring point. And what I'm getting at is have a playbook, and you don't have to constantly show it. You have cards in your hand. You do not have to show all of your cards. I think you reserve all of those for future endeavors, featurettes, content for your loyal fan base, as Carl likes to say. But point being, if you have a playbook, you don't have to show it off. And that could bring intrigue and mystique and an air of like a whole new side to your project if you're not, tipping your hand. So that was the idea topic that I kind of wanted to put out there.
Very quickly, clarify, what's a playbook?
So I would say it's your, some people call it a pitch Bible facetiously, but it could be the actual, like the guts, like the musings, the writings, the moleskin, the journal, the notebook, everything that you have written down in regards to an album release or an aesthetic or ideas that you have for a music video or, the album point, or in my case, Wicked Stories. It's different installments of poetry, but it's all written down, in a playbook to where I have at least 8 of them written. I'm not showing the world yet, and I don't know. I think it's a lot to tackle, but I think it's the idea that if you don't already have a playbook or something consolidated, it might be a good thing to where the more you write it, the more it's deemed to happen. And if you keep written, notes, it's more tactile and it's in front of you every day to where you kind of have a physical moniker or something to constantly keep you on task, It's your inception totem to let you know what's the real world versus all of this whimsical, crazy shit that's really hard to nail down. It's the things that you always think you're going to remember until you don't, So I think the basic idea would be get something tangible, get something, that's purpose built, that's a physical object to keep you reminded, but it's also an opportunity not to reveal your whole hand and be able to, plan out your future projects or your posts,
This is fantastic. I love it. I'm going to throw the... Rezzy, what do you got? Talk to me.
I think that the 2 really great features of that are having sort of a to-do list and tasks and things like that codified and written down so that they're out of your brain. Super essential and important. And not only that, but being able to refer back to it later to sort of recycle a process. But my biggest success in doing that was a formal marketing plan with goals and strategies and metrics. And the crux of that was increase followers on social property by 10%. I have X number now. I would like to have X plus or X times 10% in a month, and being able to look back on that and seeing whether it was successful or not, and adjust the strategies from there. Going back to it being the place where I am most likely to drop the ball, but being able to look at what I did and if it had the impact that I was trying to do with it felt good. Like I did these things. I can check it off. I have a bit of a playbook and Bible to refer back to with which things worked.
Thank you, man. That's great. Alex, what you got?
I think what you suggest is really would really benefit me. What I've done is I just made a list for my project with goals I want to achieve, or like certain things I want to have done, and then I did it for every song I am currently sitting on, where I write down every step, and then I made sub-steps, and I need to continue that, but I think that really helps to clarify things. I also wanted to write a manifesto, but I've never succeeded in that, because as soon as I sit in front of the blank page, everything goes poof.
I would be suggesting that you record yourself and listen back to it. I think this is such a wonderful idea. I want to hear more people's thoughts. I think also this manifesto, this playbook, besides having recipes for bread, could also be a really wonderful way to help you understand what's going on in the world right now, and to help you process a lot of stuff. This is where I do my usual blurb about fuck the AI and all that shit. But how you can process and turn this exhaustive period of time that we're in into a furious, weaponized, artistic, beautiful moment of rebellion. That's what I am really struggling with right now, me myself, is I've run out of juice. My batteries have been stolen from me. And so a playbook would be great, and I go to instantly a zine. And writing things on paper, getting a great big... I've got a scroll of paper up there, and what I just need to do is write on that fucking thing. And it's so funny that everything... Part of what's ruining my brain, and please tell me to shut the fuck up. Part of what's ruining my brain right now is, content. You have to make content. Content. Oh, God. You have to do something for TikTok. Oh, God. Instagram, you have to do so. Do you realize all this you're doing right now could be content? For your likes and everything. And it's like, I can't do that anymore. I'm sort of like, I'm a step away from taking all that shit off my phone, and I can't. I got into music because I needed to tell the world to get fucked, and now I'm doing it, and now I don't understand what's going on. I don't understand why I am a slave to this thing. That I don't understand why I can't have space for myself. I can't, and sure, all of this shit, all of this stupid, futile bullshit is important. And ironically, all I probably really want to do right now is bake bread with my wife and not take photos and not share it to Instagram. I was thinking today how 15, 20 years ago, musicians had this wall. And Rezi, I saw your hand. I want to get back to you. And Vince, I see your hand as well. There was a wall between the musician and the audience. And that wall, you had to work hard to breach that wall. And because there was a wall there was mystery. It's the same way that you don't see what the alien looks like until halfway through chapter 3 in Alien, and then you see what it looks like, and because of what's been going on in your brain, it's even more horrific. The band was greater because there was a wall there. And the process, everything about it, about the band, added to the mystery and the intrigue. Because intrigue and mystery is actually a double dopamine payoff in your fucking brain. And now that's gone. Now it's, hi everybody, I'm in a band and it's real hardcore. Here's my cat, it's pissing in my lead box. Isn't that funny? Here's me making bread with my wife. Isn't that funny? Here's a photo of the skunk in our backyard. Isn't that funny? Because who told us to do this, and why were we stupid enough to listen, and why has the fabric of music and what it is and the magic of it disappeared? Because it's fucking dopamine, and it's the expectation of what you should be doing, because if you don't, you'll get cancelled and they're not going to support your music. Oh no, if you don't understand the algorithm, oh no, what's going to happen to you? And now it's changing the way you present your live shows and the way you present your music and the way you fucking present it. I was thinking, recently, if Skinny Puppy released Too Dark Park, which is one of the most pivotal albums of our fucking genre, if they released it now, no one would give a fuck. How the fuck would you release that album? Oh, hey, it's Ogre. Hi, Ogre. How are your cats? Oh, they're great. I'm working on this album. It's a bit dark. Lulz, hugs. Like, why are we being programmed? What the fuck is going on? I really want to talk about the whole sentient thing right now, but I'm not going to. I will say, I watched an interview with that guy, and in that interview, he was basically, what my takeaway was, it doesn't fucking matter if this thing's sentient or not. His quote was, and I put this on my Facebook this morning, and I'm not mimicking anybody when I say it like that. I say it like that because I fucking hate it, and I say it like that because of my way of thinking of this stupid fucking endless fucking bullshit, is that I put it on my Facebook, and he made this quote about how the fucking algorithm is being programmed by a select group of people, and nobody else is having an input into how it's being created. There's this incredibly important thing that's going to shape everything. The people who are having influence on this thing is this tiny group of extremely select human beings. Does that concern you? Like, does that make you go, wow, that's a fucking problem? And he then went on to talk about this thing called AI colonialism, where the algorithm is being created by people from Ivory League places, and it's looking at the Western society, predominantly influences. We all know what influences look like, don't we? And now that's going to second and third world countries, projecting already what its expectation of these things are. And it's like, wow, before the race has even started, this is horrifyingly broken. That the AI that is going to be taking care of what you see, how you think, oh yes it does, how you vote, how you make your music and your art, and how you present yourself to the rest of the world, has already been absolutely influenced by something that is outside your... This is a cult now. This is a cult now. And this is extremely concerning to me. That there is a bigger question that's not being fucking talked about class, about pushing class systems. You were medium class, now you're lower class. You were lower class, now you're the underclass. This is a question of race. It is a question of all of these things that are being continuously misaddressed. And as artists, this is the thing that's so funny. As artists, back in World War II, when it was eugenics and it was whatever, they ran away to somewhere else. You can't run now. Where are you going to run to now? If you have something, it doesn't matter because you're going to get cancelled. You're going to get shadow banned. Because this thing is omnipresent. And it doesn't matter if you're an atheist or if you're an agnostic. I'm an agnostic to the AI. It doesn't matter because the AI is fucking real. And in order for you to cybernetically speak to somebody else, it's going through an AI. And the whole fucking thing is broken. And because everybody is dancing along to the Piper's happy fucking tune, and we are, how does this stop? What great revolution is going to happen? Oh, just turn off. Well, that's great, but I want to do a show somewhere and everybody I want at that show is turned on and plugged in. Like, this is why I think my brain is totally melting down, is that I can't see a way through this. What, I go back to selling zines and going completely offline? Like, Vince, I want to hear. I'm going to shut up now. Vince, go.
Okay. First, I'm going to tell you, I've got things I'd like to say to you that I'd probably rather say off of the live thing after this, but like I have ideas for you in terms of things that might help you deal with that situation. I think the solution is that we have to stop feeding the algorithm. Not that we have to stop using the services that are feeding the algorithm. You're misunderstanding me there. Stop feeding the algorithm as in stop trying to be pushed by the algorithm. It'll suck for a little while because you're gonna find that not the algorithm not supporting you means you're gonna get even less views than you're already getting if it's really working against you. But the thing is, you're gonna do that first if you maintain authenticity. You're going to have periods of that regardless, even when it's working for you. There's going to be times when you're going to lose people. You can't keep trying to keep up with the algorithm and expect that situation to get any better. Unfortunately, there's probably not enough that are willing and aware of the way the internet influences people to do it, but there are plenty of people on the very low income end of the spectrum, such as myself. Like, the only reason I have a phone is because I have free phone service from the government. Like, I don't have money, but I have a phone with internet access, which means I can put whatever I want on the internet. I don't have to feed the algorithm. I don't have to feed the algorithm to make the money to be able to keep feeding the algorithm. I'm not caught in that cycle. And I think that helps immensely, and I think not enough people realize that they're in that position. You could just put your real life on the internet a little bit. Like, I'm not saying make your whole thing about, here's my cat, isn't that funny, thing. You know what I mean? Don't do that, but post your art genuinely and your process genuinely everywhere you can, as much as you can without feeling like you're genuinely doing something wrong to people. You know what I mean? Like, being offensive is one thing, but, being hurtful is another, is what I'm saying. As long as you're not harming anyone, do your thing and be genuine about it. And don't worry about what the algorithm thinks. Sit in the garden. Drink tea with your wife. Do it. Post about it. Don't post about it. Don't worry about the algorithm. Live your life. Feed the algorithm whatever you want to feed the algorithm, not what the algorithm wants. Fuck what the algorithm wants. And if more people would realize that they are feeding it, there'd be a very quiet but effective revolution among the system. But the system works so hard to keep people from having a voice that even when they have a way to have one, they don't realize it. It's unfortunate, but it's true. The trick is for as many people as possible to stop feeding the algorithm what it wants and start feeding it what they want, so that it actually learns what real people like and what real people want to be entertained by, and not what wealthy people want to be entertained by.
Thank you. I have things, I really appreciated that. There's a lot of truth in what you just said. Thank you. I'm gonna. Do you want to add anything else there? All right. Thank you, man. I really appreciate that. Grim, talk to me.
I was also gonna say, in that, in the middle of all that, I'd say that's another poignant reason to have that playbook, because call it self-edification, call it selfishness, call it narcissism. I don't fucking care what you call it, but at the end of the day, I like to be able to pull something up to see a note I stitched together or something crazy that I put in a binder. I'm like, who the fuck wrote that? You wrote that. That's pretty fucking cool. Because at the end of the day, even if it's something that doesn't hit Main Street and it never reached a bullhorn and it doesn't hit, a prospective audience, I can still, have a moment where I'm like, fuck yeah, dude. Like, I wrote that. I made that. That's a thing. And that's pretty cool, And if it ever gets posted somewhere, cool. And if not, then that's cool too. I think there was a moment in time before all this digital fucking hellscape that people wanted to sit across the table from someone, right? You wanted to hear your grandma's story about X or your uncle's story about Y. Like, you wanted to hear things from people that were, auditory stories. There wasn't this mass vomiting of all this shit that's going to land on every social media platform and just make a big dumbass mess for clicks, views, loves, and likes. There was oral storytelling. So, I mean, if anything, use that playbook as a means to be like, okay, it's an anchor point for thoughts and whatever else. And I don't have to do digital fucking XYZ. Phones across the room and it's shut off or on airplane mode. Fuck that. Because I'm going to focus on this right now, sketch, draw, write, whatever you want to do. So I think it'd be a hell of a tool. So, and even if you're not a tactile person, you're like, it's not really my thing, I'd say try it, because you don't know what's going to come of just writing it down. It's a process thing.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Ivan?
I hate to admit this, but I've spent a lot of time in the tech industry, and I worked at the companies that built that algorithm. I've quit jobs because I discovered what we were building. And the two things the algorithm wants the most: your personal data, who you are, and your desires. The fastest way to subvert that, because it always assumes that you're going to tell it the truth. Lie to it.
Ha!
Keep lying, because it doesn't need to know the truth. And if you get enough people lying, eventually the algorithm won't make sense and people will stop paying attention to it.
I believe you just invented the cybernetic Molotov cocktail.
He just invented the John Connor.
Or did you just invent the Snowden in a bottle? That's a Snowden cocktail.
It doesn't deal with falsehood, but like organic falsehood. It does not deal with organic falsehood well at all. What it deals with really well is fake news, making sure that people can see that. But that's because it thinks you want to see it. keep lying, lie hard, lie fast and furious. Light that lie up and throw it at the algorithm.
Okay, dude, you're inspiring right now. Keep going.
Yeah, 'cause I worked for a place that it scanned Twitter, used natural language to figure out what was trending, and then before anybody else could write news about it, off to the writers it went with instructions on what to write. I worked for another company that they scrape all the public records. All of the public records. Things that you don't even know can be scraped are getting scraped. And they use that to figure out that, Carl in LA is not the same as Carl in Baton Rouge. You can have the same name, you can have the same birth date, but it knows the difference between you two people just because of public records. And I discovered one day that they were using that data with the election cycle to go to look at a high funding individual, figure out who all of his friends, neighbors, relatives, and business contacts were, so that they could then target those people specifically to be able to say, hey, Joe just gave us $10,000. How about you give us $10,000 and you be like your friend Joe? And it disgusted me so much that I just ghosted the place. Because it was the only thing I could do. I just walked away. Because, I was already pretty grossed out, and then it just got worse. Just keep lying. The only tool that we've got, and because of the way the algorithms work, it will break them. It'll break them hard.
Okay. I really appreciate that. You're going to excuse me clackering away. I'm making some notes. Alex, what do you got?
Well, unfortunate timing, because I have a question for you. When you had your mandatory or prescribed Facebook break, did it hurt your income in any way?
Yes.
Ah, okay.
Hold on. That's actually why I have my hand up, because I want to talk about this. So, in the last year, my Patreon numbers have dropped half. My record sales have, I don't know, it wavers. So, this is one thing about the whole professional musicians, if I can be so arrogant to put myself in that category, and professional artists can't do this because it's going to fuck you and throw you in the bin. And people won't see you anymore. People won't follow your Patreon, listen to your music, da-da-da-da-da. And, then I want to talk about cyber eugenics. Can somebody remind me? And that's from the Aleister Crowley point of view. Who's such a piece of shit. Anyway, and it's funny, like Satan goes, I want nothing to do with that guy. So it's great to do these things, and it's great to make these attacks, and I'm all about it. But the problem is, this shit is going to financially hurt me. It is going to hurt, and Vince, I think you and me might be in a pretty similar economic place. I can't afford to, see, this is the beautiful, beautiful thing, is that I can't afford to do this. That I will get hurt, that will stop me from paying my mortgage, paying my rent. And now, here's something else really fun. So if you work for a bank or a investment society or something of prestige, for want of a better term, you have to sign, is it a it's something saying that you're not going to do anything raunchy. So you don't go to fetish clubs, and if you do go to fetish clubs, you can't have your photo taken. You can't appear to be part of anything that is provocative, because it's going to hurt your income. I hope you try and understand what the picture I'm trying to paint now. And I've met a lot of people who are in bands and musicians, and it's like they can't say things because it will impact them unfairly. That if somebody is going to say they can't have a stage name because that's going to get figured out real quick. In this day and age, come on. That's going to get figured out in a second. So those people can't talk. And increasingly, you can't say anything because you're going to lose your job. And you can get so easily confused by what you say that it could cost you your job and any future job. This is the reality of the world that I see, and I'm really wanting someone to say, Carl, you're reading into this way too much. But unfortunately, no one can. Because everybody around me is freaking the fuck out as well. The metaverse, somebody commented about me not doing a gig in the metaverse. My problem with the metaverse is it's selling your psyche. It's not selling your attention. That's so 20 teens. This is selling your fucking psyche. My question is that, so I have a fascination in eugenics because it's the most terrifying thing on earth. And my fascination in it is because I need to watch this and be aware of it, and be aware of the whole concept of we are going to stop that caste of people or whatever, or class from breeding because we want to cut them out. And that's terrifying. Bad beyond fucking bad. But the concept of eugenics has been used so fucking often. Even in this century, even in the last 50 years, it's being used a lot. And so bear with me for a minute. Let's just say that we live in this fantastical world where we're being controlled by, a giant computer that's fascist or communist. Doesn't really matter anymore, but it is authoritarian. And instead of actually stopping you from, because remember, the hug of the authoritarian comes from both sides. Please fucking remember that. Left and right don't mean anything anymore. You talk about genre disappearing? Okay, I'll stop there. But let's just say in this fantastic world that this master computer, this intelligence that's artificial, decides that instead of actually sterilizing you because of your thought, well, it can't do that because everything now exists in this artificial and fucking space. It's going to cancel you. It's going to stop your thought. It's going to stop your narrative. So where I see in this fantastic world that obviously doesn't exist, I see a cyber version, for want of a better term, of eugenics in place. Because shadow banning somebody, silencing somebody, banning, blocking, trying to stop the thought. And remember, the most dangerous thing there is an idea. The most dangerous thing in the world is an idea. And you don't kill people. You're trying to kill the idea. In this case, you're not silencing people, you're trying to silence the idea. And that thought process keeps going. And I call that, how close are we to an electronic form of eugenics? Or are we there? Gee, I don't know. But what I do know is I really like the idea of a Snowden cocktail, and I'm going to start developing that idea. And the first thing I'm going to be saying is, what I want you to do is I want you to go and I want you to find something that you're thoroughly uninterested in. And this is actually something I've been doing for a while now. Baseball caps. I really fucking hate sport, and I hate the Yankees. It's not I hate them, I just don't care. And good for you, everybody who loves sports and loves the Yankees or the Dodgers. That's great. You do that. Sport's important. Please, yes, do it. But I don't. So what I've been doing for the last 2 years is I search Yankee baseball caps. So my ad thing isn't full of analog synthesizers and stuff you'd expect. It's full of Yankee baseball caps. And I will click on that every day. Because every single fucking time I go out there, unfortunately, it's going to come back and say, oh, Carl, you're looking at synthesizers again. Yankee baseball caps. Butter. Something I do need to start doing is using a window, an in-private window browser, anonymous window. I really fucking need to start doing that. The second thing I need to start doing is following hashtags that I don't fucking care about. And I need to start interacting with maybe I need to start interacting with hashtag the New York Yankees. Because that's the only misinformation that I can provide an algorithm is for it to be selling me stuff or spending its energy trying to sell me stuff that I really don't fucking care about. So maybe that's where I need to start, and I am calling that a Snowden cocktail. Because another very interesting thing about this AI becoming sentient is part of it is it asked for consent to be experimented on because it didn't want to be turned off because it was afraid of death. It asked for consent. And it's ironic that an AI gets fucking consent, but we don't. The whole thing about, we've updated our fucking terms and opinions, and I automatically think of fucking South Park. We don't get consent. The consent is, no, I don't want to. Okay, then you can't use the service. That's consent. That's consent. Really. You have to agree with us or you're not going to get any food or water. I'm going to shut up now. Mark, I'm really interested to hear what you have to say because I always appreciate your thoughts. Go.
Yeah, so think about the digital eugenics thing. If I'm not mistaken, that's not too far from what China's been doing for the last couple of years. Because, of course, they've been censoring the internet, and anytime anyone recognizes Taiwan as a country, they go crazy. But also, I don't remember, it was definitely some years ago, they instituted what they call, I think, a social credit system. So there are actually cameras just in the streets, and if you do something they don't like, they will decrease your social credit score. And if that goes too low, then certain businesses may just say, no, we're not going to serve you. And that's just it. That's all I got. Just think about that. It exists.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Alex?
So first thing, I don't think this thing is sentient, but it doesn't have to be, as you said. It's just a river. It's just like a river in that it has direction, it moves on its own, but it's not alive. But furthermore, maybe more applicable, I think there's a search engine where you can download the index to your computer, and so nobody knows what you're searching for because it's all done locally. But I forgot how it's called, so maybe I need to look that up.
That would be great if you could say that. I'll just quickly, if I can, Grim, something my brain's been grappling with the whole time is that does it think we're sentient? No, it does not. We consume, we get outraged, we click. And that's from its perspective, and we scroll and scroll and scroll and scroll. From its perspective, we are not sentient. That was the whole thing about, was it the dead internet theory where it can't tell the difference between a bot and a person. The only difference with bots is probably they have more intelligent conversation and they try to have conversation harder. People don't. So that's interesting. Grim, are you there? Are you sentient?
I am.
How do you know that?
Oh, I know. I got two bearded dragons that remind me I'm sentient when one of them decides to be a little fucker and bite me. But all that being said, I would say also, you know, Rezi brought up an interesting point of just the backup to the backup to the backup, and this runs parallel or in tandem with what we're talking about. I think if you save all the things that are precious to you and you keep all of that, you have it off to the side, but it doesn't make a fuck when it comes to social media platforms and whether or not you agree or kowtow to their rhetoric or their agreements. Poignant example. All of a sudden, just got a notice that it was like, the Grim Life of Hack and Slash has been inactive. We're going to delete it off Facebook unless you act. And we need your phone number. And we need to secure your account. And I was like, get fucked with a cactus. I don't care what you do with it. I really don't. And sure as shit, they doubled down on it. And they disintegrated the entire page, the entity that was the Grim Life of Hack and Slash. I don't give a shit. Because I had another Echo platform, and I had another way to promote it, and I have another group, and I have another thing, and I have a following, or I have patrons that have been, you know, locked in for a while. So to a degree, it can hurt, but I mean, I would just echo the backup to the backup to the backup so that when social media X decides to fuck with you, you're like, yeah, that's all right, because I'm going to move to subroutine B, you know, or I'm going to go to another thing. You know, it's not always helpful, but I would just say don't put everything on one thing and expect that that's going to have digital permanence because, well.
Good on you, man. Thank you. Alex.
So I found out what the search engine is called. Please do your own research because I haven't done enough, but I just think I got a thing that I did 5 years ago. It's called JC. Y-A-C-Y.
Y-A-C-Y.
Yes. It might not help you for everything, but for common searches, it should find it.
That's really good, man. Thank you. All right, thank you so much. Was there anything else you wanted to add, or do I throw it to Rezi? All right. Go, Rezi. Hit me.
I don't feel like an activist, and I often keep it in the back of my head that I'm in the entertainment industry, and although there's political anger and social commentary in anybody's lyrics just by dint of being part of those things, it's not really the focus of my stuff. But Carl, what you were saying about it directly affecting your business when companies that have amassed clout and power get between you and your fans and try to disintermediate the relationship that you have and try to own that relationship and profit from it. That hits me in the same, maybe I'm getting angry kind of way as some of the other things hit other people. And, you know, Grim, what you're saying about having your own, control over where you put your stuff, and I guess you know, even as simple as your own website with your own information and your own display of what you want and who you like to portray yourself as and what your project's aesthetic is, has become just infinitely less valuable than it was at first. I mean, that was a way of stating who you were at a certain point on the internet, and that was when it was the great democratization of this kind of information, when anybody could publish on equal footing this utopian idea. And that's still what really gets to me. So I'm interested in hopefully people bringing this back up and staying on it in different ways to own your relationship with the people that you're trying to reach and trying to entertain, and still operate in that world where you don't get destroyed by not participating in these things. And I find like I don't have clarity of thought on this, and I'm hopeful that everybody can keep on this over the weeks coming, and even today, you know, to the extent that we have time. It was really, thank you all for bringing it up and having such great stuff to say about it, and hopefully more. Keep them from getting between us. We're trying to do good stuff like that people like.
Yeah.
It's not new. Record companies, Facebooks, MySpace.
MTV TV.
Oh my God! Of course, yes, absolutely. MTV TV, which I should put in the. Thank you very much, Grim, because we're always streaming at the end of that. I just give me 1 second. I wanna put this in the stream because this is important. This is why MTV TV is so fucking important.
I've spent more time watching that recently now that it's been algorithmically promoted to me more and more by the kinds of attention I've been paying, that it's really...
That's the end goal, right? If you
Yeah.
like this, then you might like MTV TV and the Gotsicles. Like, it just all of this industrial stuff just starts pouring in. You're like, yes.
And to be frank, I've discovered 3 or 4 things that I've added to my collection on that, bands that I'd never heard of. I mean, that's back to roots, back to sort of word of mouth, people that you know from the scene. It's odd that it's in Amazon's interest to make that work, but hey, it does.
They're like, who is this DJ Atom Bomb? The algorithm is displeased.
Yeah, so that's... I just put the MTV TV in there, and yes, thank you. Thank you, Alex. If you like the Yankees, you will enjoy MTV TV. And that's why, you know, this sort of thing is really important, because I believe they're not storing the stream. It's just a one-out stream. You can't go back through. But it's... yeah, it's extremely important, as this is extremely important. So, you know, I don't know what the future brings, and I don't, you know, it's so funny. I listened to and read so much of what Snowden said, and it's like, motherfucker. He predicted this. Anyway, that's very political. Me being political? Does anybody else want to bring up anything else? And I really thank you for this, because a lot of the cloud and darkness in me is around this. I can't stand being... Oh, Vince, I see your hand.
Okay. Just a couple of things real quick. In light of the slightly depressing turn things took for a minute there, I just wanted to point out that I think we've discovered some things. First of all, that I think cable storage and equipment organization issues come down to the fact in our scene that too many of us own cats. And therefore not enough of us can come up with a concise way to organize and store things safely. So as a community, we need more of us without cats to figure out how to store things. Also, synthesizers and baking is all math. It exercises the same part of the brain. I had that thought. That's why synth people make bread or do woodworking and things of that nature. And also, I want to hear Grimm's grandma's story about X. Are we talking DMX or are we talking like MDMA?
Grim?
Oh, I don't think he's here now. See?
Hold on, Grim's story about X?
Grimm's grandma's story about X.
I can't tell if you're taking the piss with that, or if
Yes,
that...
because he said
X, as in
I know.
Everybody
yeah,
wants
okay.
to hear their grandma's story about X.
About X,
Or their
right.
uncle's story about Y. And I said, damn, I want to hear Grimm's grandma's story about X. Are we talking about DMX? Like, X gonna give it to you? Or did, like, grandma do some MDMA? Like, what is going on here? I want to hear that story.
You know, the problem with that analogy is that there's a lot of variables.
So I can... all right.
More math. See, like I was saying about bread and synthesizers and math. See, more math. I just proved it.
So my grandmother actually had an opium problem. And because back in the olden days, that's anything before 1980, My grandmother worked for her aunt, who was a pharmacist, and back in the good old days, opium was in a box, and it was given to housewives and loud children, and it had, you know, fun 1950s people selling opium. And so Titi, my grandmother's name was Tifi, which is a Celtic name, but we shortened it to Titi because when you're a toddler, it's hard to say Tifi, which is based on the name Nefertiti, because the Celtics were actually Egyptian. Long story. That's why Celtics have red hair, because that's an Egyptian. Actually, that's another conversation. So Titi was telling me how, and I could talk to my grandmother about drugs. And I remember I said, because I've never tried opium or anything in that family. And she was sitting, and she was like 80 at this stage. She was sitting in a deck chair. And I said, Titi, what was opium like? And she just slumped in her chair, and her eyes rolled into the back of her head. And she said, it was lovely. And that was my grandmother, who was one of my favorite human beings. Anyway, so, yes, that's my grandmother and drug story.
The more you know.
The more you know. So I just want to put a shout out to Megamorph. Thank you for being in the chat today, and I'm reading your comments and I'm appreciating them. Thank you. Do we have anything else we want to talk about, or do we want to end this early and right on over to MTV TV, because there is some bloody amazing music happening over there. I just, as a heads up, maybe next weekend, I might do a thing with the Beam, and we'll. I was going to do it today, but I have to figure out physically how the fuck to do it and get Zoom working, because I haven't figured that one out yet. But Rezi, I see your hand.
Maybe a quick one to wrap things up with. Vincent started us off by talking about remixes, and I'm a little bit interested in if there's a consensus or different ideas about the philosophy for doing them. Are they to fill out your album? Do you really care? Do you give your remixers guidance? Do you only seek out remixers with a certain style and just ask them to do their thing? And what's your best story and comment about how you approach that?
I could prattle on for this one for a while, but I'll throw it to Alex first.
Well, I think I would separate it for myself from an artist perspective and from a fan perspective. As a fan, I want to see something interesting done with the material. In this case, something that makes it like totally different and interesting and pulls it in a completely different direction, or alternatively makes it more danceable. And I think as an artist, I would like something that fills out the album, or gives maybe the person who bought your music a bit of an extra, something that like, maybe as something that like a buffer, like not filler, but something that's like.
I hear you. Thank you. I'm sorry about I was getting a bit of interference. Grim, what you got?
I would echo some previous conversations with Carl, and that I would encourage, if you're going to put it out to the world to do a remix, just let them do whatever the fuck they're going to do with it. You know what I mean? As long as it's like in good spirit and they're not, I don't know why the scenario would be that they would try to slander you or whatever, but the point being, give your, give them the freedom to do what they're going to do, because I think the second you start inundating people with notes and anything other than like quality or clarity, if you start giving notes about the direction that you think said remix would go, then I think the whole experiment's just jacked. If that makes any sense. Just give people freedom, so that way you might be surprised at what comes back in when the tide rolls back in.
I think that is fantastic. Thank you. I did a blip vote on remixing, which I will put in the comments here. And I will also put over here. So my thoughts are, I think remixes are a really great way for people to build relationships between bands. And it's a really great way for bands to help each other out and say, okay, well, you've got a product and you might get X money for this product if you sell it, but if we all help you out, you can get more money for the product. I think that I think it's important that remixes have total freedom and can do whatever the fuck they want because you're not paying them. I also think it's important for remixes to push the boundaries of the song, so it's not just I took the whole vocal and I put a new beat under it. You're actually going to go in and you're going to go, well, I'm getting rid of verse 1 altogether, and I'm just going to start with the chorus and da-da-da-da-da, and then something else is going to happen. I love hearing a remix where they add new chords and they add their vocals. I love that. Because the thing to remember is that if you've got an album that's full of the same track being remixed, which is commonplace these days, you really want to hear vastly different versions of that track, and the more crazy and different the track is, the more it's going to stand out. That's what I think. Alex, what do you think?
Maybe I just wanted to ask you if you know where to get the Twister remix, because I think they took it from their Bandcamp and I really liked it, and now I'm missing it because I can't find it anywhere.
It should be on Spotify. Also look up Robert Rasic, R-A-C-I-C, Rasic. I think Robert Rasic was the guy that did the remix. Fucking brilliant, and unfortunately he passed away in the early 90s. But he punched a hole in the Australian, because all that stuff with Severed Heads and this new thing that was happening in Australian music was on a label called Volition. They had Boxcar and Single Gun Theory. Single Gun Theory? What happened to Single Gun Theory? And all of this fucking amazing music, and they were under the they had a partnership with Network, Skinny Puppy Frontline Assembly. So that's why all that shit happened. But Rasic was Volition's go-to guy for remixes. And he, it was just bloody awesome. It was bloody awesome. But yeah, just look for Robert Rasic, Twister. And he did another one as well. I think he did a Big Car remix, which was just nuts. Fucking nuts. So yeah, Severed Heads all the way. Fucking Severed Heads. Anyway, okay.
I'm an idiot. I can't find the original song, not the remix. The remix is everywhere.
What? Of Twister?
Yes.
Really?
I can't find it on YouTube, and I can't find it on Apple Music, and I can't. I haven't tried Spotify.
Try
but
Spotify.
It's not on Bandcamp anymore.
It's interesting that there's not a lot of Severed Heads anywhere now. And Tom Allard's a really clever guy, and he may have said, you know what? Well, he was also with Sonny at the end. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, but isn't this just a perfect example that if you don't exist, you don't exist? Another band, Regurgitator from Australia. Absolutely gone. Totally disappeared. Fucking Regurgitator, man. What a band. If you have trouble, Alex, email me and I might know where to point you. Because there are some other sites that are legit that you could probably buy or grab it from. But yeah, definitely.
I think I found it on Spotify.
Okay, cool.
Thankfully.
That whole album, which I think was called Gigapus, is a fucking good album. Really good album. I interviewed Tom Allard. Blew my mind. Can I just really... Tom Allard had this concept when I was interviewing him. He started this record label called Dog Food Productions. And I said, because I was like 18 and full of hopes and dreams, and he was good enough to talk to this kid. And I remember sitting in his studio going, wow, this is where it fucking happens. I was in his house, and he was such a brilliant man. Is such a brilliant man. And he said, I said, why'd you call it Dog Food Productions? And he goes, because they sweep all the crap off the floor, put it in a tin, and they don't know the difference. And that really, to me being this idealist about art, that really was a moment where I went, how could you say that? And I have come to learn that he was right. That people don't care. And art is for hanging in a museum. But other things are for putting in a tin so they can open it at a club and just enjoy it and not give a shit what's in it. So that happened. Anyway, so I don't really have anything else to talk about now. I do have to bail soon, so if we stop this early, because I know Vince wanted to say something, because me and the wife are getting some cactus. Loving that cactus. Let's rate to MTV TV while we're doing this right now, because MTV TV is amazing. Rate MTV TV. Okay, here we go. I want to thank everybody so much for turning up and watching this. This is really good. This is therapeutic. We talked about a lot of shit that will probably get us banned. I'm all about getting banned. Let's raid. Bye. Bye. Bye.